interesting. He says it just needs a new back window. The top is in very good shape. Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome back to Ride Rescue. So you've been shopping for a classic car. You've worked out a deal. You've inspected it. And now, if you're like me, you own it. It's in your garage. So now what? I like to look at projects basically in three categories. I want to drive this while I work on it. So the first thing I got to do is make it drivable and make it safe. And then I want to start figuring out, okay, well, what is it that I can live with, leaving it as is, or what needs to be replaced? Are there just cosmetic items that are annoying that I want? Or like the back seat is missing. I want to get a back seat back there. I want to be able to take people with me. The carpet, it's all falling apart. You drive down the road and it's blowing pieces and particles up in your face. Way back when I first started toying with cars, I was like a lot of people do. I just get a catalog, or I go to the parts store or even to a wrecking yard and just start finding everything that I need to build this car. Bumpers, interior, trim pieces, just big long list, and just start buying. Next thing you know, you got boxes and boxes of things piled up in your garage, and you don't have the time to work on it. Project kind of stalls. Next thing you know, years have gone by and you've got all these boxes, you're getting into your project and you start changing your ideas of what you want to do with the car. The green interior you bought, you decide you don't want green, you want to go black, or you want to go another color. I bought a Cadillac one time that had a brand new convertible top in the trunk, and it was in green, and it had gotten wet, and it was all mildewed. When I pulled it out to install it, it just fell apart. So those are the kind of things I see a lot with a car that has been completely blown apart or set aside and just forgotten. So don't buy everything that you need for the car. Just buy what you need or want to do a little project at a time. Want to put a back seat in, want to put carpet in? Get the carpet, get the seat, stick with that. One step at a time. Don't get carried away. And if you do start taking it all apart, don't just take it all apart, because that's another nightmare I see a lot. So we'll get into that with the other steps of how far you want to go. So that would be the drive it and work on it as you go. Then there's the second step where I like to look at, okay, it's not going to be drivable if I have to swap motors. So what kind of a motor do I want to put in it? What kind of a transmission do I want to put in it? How carried away do I want to get in that project? Take the whole front end off, like my Pontiac. I bought that. Guy took the whole front end off of the car, was planning on doing work on the engine, never did. Car set for 40 years in pieces, took up his two-car garage. After 40 years, his wife finally said, get that car out of the garage or I'm leaving. He sold it as a parts car. So I've seen that a lot. I look at cars all the time that are basket cases, and there is a ton of them out there. So we don't want you to get into that scenario either. So if we're going to drive this while we work on it, what is it we want to get? Naturally start with the safety items. Got good glass, just have a crack in where you see, your windshield wipers work, all your headlights, tail lights, brakes. Basically you want it to be safe going down the road for you and for others. Your exhaust system, do you have an exhaust leak? Is it rusty? Does it have holes in it? So you'll also want to look at any fluid leaks, especially fuel. Fuel leaks, even if it's just seepage. Antifreeze, oil, if you have a really bad rear end leak like this one does. So one of the things I want to do with this car is I want to pull out all the carpet and see what I need to put carpet back in this. I'm going to pull the seats out, and then I need to decide, do I want to keep this seat since I've got to get a new back seat. It's missing. Plus, they built a platform back there for the dignitaries to stand on, and there's a little seating area across the back. It appears as though they took this top off. They took it off, probably stuck it in a warehouse somewhere, and when they sold the vehicle, they put it back on. I think this is the original top. I don't think this top has ever been replaced. As you can see, it is just rags, shredded, falling apart. So we'll get that out of the way, and then I'll pull everything out of the back, and I'm really curious what it looks like underneath there. The guy I bought this from, he was really antsy. He wanted to rip it all out, but he's afraid if he tore it all out that he'd make it really bad, really ugly, and then have it even that much more difficult to sell this. But now, I want it out. I'm going to rip it all out and throw it away. So I'm really curious to see what's underneath there. Maybe even the seat bottom is underneath there. Who knows? So let's get into that. Start by just taking off this top. The top is just 2 bolts and the whole thing comes out. Resist the urge to rip off all the material. It's very tempting. I did it one time to a 63 Le Mans convertible. I can collapse this top and take it off and set it aside without ripping off all the material. And the guy that installs the new top will really like to have this as a reference for how everything was positioned, where the back bow is. That back bow on a lot of these is adjustable. This one's pretty well fixed. But there are adjustments that you can make in this, and having all these pieces, even as bad as they are, is a great reference for the guy that has to replace it. Whether you do it yourself or whether you're going to have somebody do it, leave all that in place if you can. Now I want to strip all of this frame down and repaint it and refinish it. But I'm going to wait till the last minute when I do that. And then when I do rip all this off, then I'll make really good notes and dimensions and photographs, and then I can blow it all apart. I've redone a lot of tops over the years. This is the simplest top I have ever worked with. Interesting. A lot of cut wires. Can't imagine what these were too. They're pretty old wires. The old fabric wires. There's a big hole here in the middle, and it's threaded. It probably had a table back here. In fact, sit on here, have a table. Pretty strange. Definitely a bell. Looks like this has got some carriage bolts all the way through the floor. I don't know if this was original or not. Not likely. Looks like something that somebody added, and like I say, it does look like there was a table mounted here. Well, it appears this has a nail strip, tack strip all around the edge, and that was tacked onto this back panel. I doubt this is original, but I would imagine this probably had something from the factory. I'll have to start investigating that to see what this is supposed to be. Well, that takes me back with little nails, little tack nails instead of staples. This goes way back into the 50s and 60s. All really solid, super clean. I don't see any body work. This is just a single sheet of metal. I don't see a wave or a dent in it. That's awesome. These are the kind of things that you start tearing out and you go, oh crap, I gotta make this and put it all back together. So I want to keep all these pieces as patterns. Okay, curiosity's got the best of me. I gotta know if this thing works. And this is 12 volt. Nothing. Everything's hooked up. It works. But if you're touching the bell, it silences it. Now, it might be kind of loud. Yeah, it works. That's cool. I think I'm going to have to keep this. I don't know what I'll use it for, but I'll find something. I'm trying to figure out how to get these armrests off. And it looks like they're bolted in from inside the fender well. I'm going to have to get this up on jack stands, but as I'm looking at this, it's fascinating. These were originally black with white or cream colored welt, that bead weld. These are probably the original armrests, and somebody painted them this red when they painted everything. This has a horrible, horrible paint job. They didn't really do much to scuff it or even clean it. They just painted over the original. So it's pretty interesting that these are the original armrests, and now I can see what the original upholstery was. Black with cream bead. Pretty cool. And these panels, I'm curious to take one of them off. I want to see if there's ever been any body work to the inside of this. It doesn't look like it. So far, everything I'm seeing, this has never been bumped or wrecked. Again, it kind of goes with that low mileage. I don't think this car saw a whole lot of action. In fact, if anything, of the miles that are on this, it was probably all just parade. And as I'm looking at the wiring that was used on this could very well have been done just soon after the war. This could have been purchased and used for the Shriners since the beginning. Just never know. I wish I could find more history on this car, but so far I haven't had any luck. Here's the original color. This thing is just so solid. It's just awesome. There's no rust anywhere. I'm excited about this project. This is going to be pretty quick, not having to do so much body work. There's a few little dents. There's a dent on that side, just little dents here and there. But now having access to get to the back side of this and to be able to smooth out those dents, it's going to be awesome. And get some more ugly off. Okay, I don't know if that really solved much of getting rid of the ugly. It's still pretty ugly. Thought it was really interesting. I found these under the carpet in the back, and then I come around to this side, and there's another one. I think those were the mounts for the back seat. But that's the only adjustment you have for this seat, forward and back. You take out 2 bolts on the back, and I think there's one over there, but it's broken off. And then there's another one right here that just has like a bracket that slides underneath another bracket. So I'll get this other bolt off the other side. We'll slide this seat out and see what it looks like. That seat out of the way. Let's see what's under here. It looks like it had some kind of a rubber backing on this carpet that is all falling apart. I thought maybe they had screwed this down, but they actually nailed it down. Interesting. It is. It was nailed through the metal. Huh. Yep, twist nail. And now let's see what's under the carpet. No pad. That's pretty cool. Got bolts coming up through from underneath. Kind of strange. Oh wow. That's disturbing. Beat the heck out of the bottom of the floor. It's solid. Interesting to see why that's so bent. It looks like it's bent right here too. Well, we'll just put that right into the trash. A little bit of surface rust on this side. Put you down here for a little bit of a closer look. It's hard to tell on camera, but see there's a big crease in the metal right there. This is pushed up probably an inch. That right there is pushed up quite a ways. You know what? I think I know what this is. I think that's that air tank that's underneath the floor. They might have high centered on something and shoved that air tank up into the floor. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Looks like somebody probably high centered on something or something pushed that up through the floor. Well, the tank has landed. It is still attached to a hose on that end. And there's the other end of the hose. And it's attached to another valve that has pieces that are cut off. That's got to go as well. I'll have to climb under the dash and unbolt that. But for now, I should be able to just take that hose off from that end. Okay, tank's out. Now that I've got all the carpet out, I was hoping to find some things hidden. This is a wiring diagram to these cheap little Kraco speakers that are mounted on the sides of the kick panels. That's funny. And it's in really good condition, considering it was under the carpet. A lot of sand. More balloon remnants from the clown days. And a couple of pennies. 1979 penny and a 2019 penny. Wow. That surprises me. Along with finding pennies and paperwork, you can see I'm finding more hack job when it comes to the floor to get that Pinto motor and transmission in here. it looks like they cut the floor out and they mounted in this hand bent piece. It looks like they put it on a, what do they call those, bead bags, and beat on it until they got it all shaped the way they wanted it, and then caulked it in. You can see there on the floor, that's probably where the original gas pedal is mounted, and those are the holes for the gas pedal. There is the hole for what should have been the brake pedal, and then this is the clutch pedal. That centerpiece would have been where the shaft for the shifter would have gone through for the 3 on the tree shifting mechanism. This was a full concourse restoration. You'd be searching for a floor or just trying to fake it. If you had another Jeepster to compare it to, you could make this piece. But with what I'm planning on doing, like I say, I'll be making my own hump, and then I'll be making carpet, or maybe even a console. I'm still keeping it drivable. That whole theme of doing a little weekend work, keep it drivable, and then just got to throw a carpet and a seat back in it. I have to put everything back in. There's the seat. Weld a bracket on that so that we make the seat safe. With the carpet off now, you can see this is some kind of an air switch. So I still haven't traced these lines to see exactly where they went, but that appears to be some kind of an air pedal. Oh, more remnants of balloon. There's so much grit, grime that's collected along here. I thought it was rust, but it's not. It's just surface rust. This piece right here that holds this sideboard on has a little bit of rust hole right there. There's some pitting. No real rust. Pretty exciting. A couple more things that just screams 1975-ish, I'm guessing. Before 74, 75, mostly what you saw in stereos were 8-tracks. And these wonderful Kraco speakers. You can see this is a Sanyo high power auto reverse deck. That was good stuff back then. I was one of the very first of all my friends that had cassette players. Everybody else had 8-tracks. So those have got to go, and that's got to go. Pretty interesting the way Willys did this dash. They did this dash in the wagons and the trucks and the Jeepsters. This was the place where they intended on having a radio. Whoever installed this really hacked up that panel. You can get these panels. This one's pretty torn up. I thought maybe I could weld a plate over it and restore it, but it's not worth the time. These run about 25, 30 bucks. So that's all trash. As you can see, the bottom of these kick panels are rotted off. Just had a couple of screws is all that holds it in. So that's another good one that is easy to replace and beautify the interior. I think these are fairly inexpensive. Buy replacement parts, or even better yet, do a harder stock, because this is just card stock, and upholster it. Do the same thing with the door panels. We'll look at doing that. Alright, with this all cleaned up, pulling that radio out, got rid of most of the bird's nest of wiring in there. The wiring actually looks fairly decent, not too bad. Most of the wires have been replaced, but there's still a few other wires that are the original fabric coated wires. So those will have to be replaced. I'll swap those out. Still want to get these pieces out. As you can see, pretty basic, really simple dash. I don't really like it. I don't like how they're so recessed. I understand now with this seat where it folds forward, it folds into that spot. But if there's something about a vehicle that you don't like, change it. So I plan on doing that. And in the next videos, we'll start talking about going from simple stuff like this, reupholstering, putting in carpet. The carpet for these are pretty simple. They're molded carpet. You might have to trim a little bit around the edges, but for the most part, you just drop them in. Because the center hump has been changed, a stock piece of carpet probably wouldn't fit exactly right, but you could probably maneuver it a little bit, trim it a little bit, maybe heat it with the heat gun or a steam gun, and get all that carpet to fit really good. So for the most part, those are one of those things you can do easily in the garage. I'll put this, I need to weld this seat bracket back on. I'll get the seat back in, and it's ready to go to a car show. Oh, close. For one thing, it's still freezing outside without a top, but come spring, we're going to take it to a car show. Of course, there's a few things I've got to do to make it safe to drive. I might just weld a gusset to the sides of the frame to hold that motor in place, get underneath and see if I can secure that transmission. Maybe it's drivable just the way it is, for now. Or maybe not. There's 7 of these bolts that go right down through the body, and I can get to the back side, but they're carriage bolts, and they're just rusty enough that all they want to do is spin in the wood. So I'm going to have to drill them out. I could get underneath with a grinder and cut off all the nuts, but doing it on my back and getting stuff in my face, I just as soon drill them out from the top side. So I'll drill a pilot hole first. Alright, finally, let's see what is underneath here. Nothing. But it is exactly what I thought. Big pipe flange, most likely they had a table sitting on here. And it looks like there was probably, yeah, there's little bridges here where the seat slid underneath. This little frame here was the frame of the front of the seat. Interesting. Somebody came up with this idea of building a platform on a table for the back. Well, with that last piece out of the way, now I can get these 2 armrests pieces off. And then this is all gutted. So then it's just a matter of deciding if you want to work real hard to find this seat or do something custom. Well, got a lot accomplished today. A lot more than I thought I would within just a few hours. But like I said, you can do this kind of work and still have it be drivable. While I'm looking for a back seat, if I want to put a back seat in, maybe you have an upholstery guy reupholster that. Maybe you're pretty handy and you can upholster it yourself. Still a lot to do. This seat needs to be fixed. And of course, there's a ton of things that has to be done to this before it is really drivable. But just to kind of get that point across that there's a lot you can do and leave it drivable. So, till next time, thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. If you'll like, subscribe, share. Really appreciate you doing anything that way to keep my channel growing. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye for now.